man.
We would have got there.
Let me get a piece. I'll lick this joint to the Antonio kept trying. You sure you won't?
I don't care. I don't care.
That's a whole lot, bro. I'm here.
Wait. Hi, Kate the Sleepy Teacher. How are you?
Kate the Sleepy Teacher is good, but she can't hear you if you're going to talk like that. You got to reach the microphone.
Hi, Kate the Sleepy Teacher.
All right. You know I hung out with her. Did I tell you that? Mm-hmm. It was awesome. She's just as nice as you would think she is. So this is Imir, and Imir wants to be a teacher one day. Why do you want to be a teacher?
It's because you don't see African-American males in a classroom that much. I did like some studying. I think it's like 2%.
It's some crazy low percent of African-American males who are teachers.
Yeah, and if there is an African-American like teacher, he's not in the classroom. He's probably like doing something out of the classroom. And I want to like teach in the classroom and start to like inspire kids and motivate kids to do stuff like that.
Let me ask: have you ever had African-American male teacher like for a regular regular ed class, or like that they weren't like a co-teacher or something like that?
I've had like 2, and they both are in middle school. And then like I think I might want to do elementary education, because also if there is an African American teacher, he's doing high school, he's doing secondary education, he's not doing elementary education. Now I want to do stuff like that.
Why do you think that's important? Like what? Like if you had a teacher that was African American male, like what benefit do you think you would glean from that as opposed to like anybody else?
I think it's just like killing that stereotype of like African American, all the bad stereotypes, and just like chipping away at that more.
So one of the things I tell the students, and one of the reasons we have like a lot of like African American males come in and speak to them, is this idea of like if you see it, you can be it, and so like to give kids a sense of like being able to actually see themselves in someone, and then thinking, well, if that dude could do it, like I could do it also. Awesome. So you want to go to college for that, and then what do you want to? Do you want to teach around here? Do you want to teach in Louisiana? Like, what do you want to do?
I want to do like the more underserved areas, so like the inner city. I don't know like which city, but like the inner city, like the schools in the hood, like people say.
Sure. Why?
Because those are like the most underserved kids. Like, I don't need to teach at like this rich school. They have like all the resources they need. I want to like teach at a school that doesn't have any resources.
I have one more question. What, as a teacher, what sort of gap do you want to fill, right? So like there's something that you didn't have that wasn't present all that much when you were a student. What would you like to see done that wasn't done?
Something that I want to see done?
So like, I know when I started teaching, I was the kid that flew under the radar all the time, right? I was what I refer to as a number 2 student. So like, no one even knew I was there. And I wanted to make sure that I see all those kids that no one else might say hi to, the kids that walk invisible through the hallway, to make sure that they know that they're at least seen and that they're known. That was something I wanted to bring into my teaching. So is there anything that you like haven't seen that you wished happened in high school that you would do?
I think when I was a bit younger, there was like this principal who ran the school by like fear. Like if he was standing by you, if you like kids were like afraid to sneeze around him, or he'd like suspension, detention, like that. And I think I want to be able to like fill the gap of like, you don't have to be like afraid like in the classroom, if that makes sense. Like you don't have to be afraid of like, me. Like I'm like how can I say this in words? Was that good enough?
Like you want to be more caring or approachable and not terrify kids.
Yeah.
Good answer, man. Barry's gonna die anyway. Good work. This is me. I'm just getting ready to record, but I'm waiting for Cephas to get out of the frame. Because you're going to take all the focus, and I wouldn't be the focus. That's why it's called Real Rap with Reynolds and not Real Stuff with Cephas. That was the thumbnail right there, buddy. So today was a pretty good day. Did you have a good day?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a good day.
Right.
We did, let me make sure this is focusing, because people get all upset when it doesn't focus. And I hate when I watch YouTube videos and it doesn't focus and it looks like someone's all fuzzy. So today we talked about inferences, and today was one of those days, right, where like, I am still getting used to this. Where last year I had 50 to 55 minutes in a class, I forget which one of those it was. This year I have like 43 minutes in a class, and it is such a big difference that like, I always just keep wishing that I had 10 more minutes in class and I would get through exactly what I wanted to get through, but I didn't have that opportunity. So today in class, it's also freezing in here, which is why I have a jacket on right now. We talked about inferences, so I just threw definition up on the Promethean board, had them copy that down. Then we went through different ads, right? And so let me, I'm gonna throw these up here now. So here's some of the ads that we did. And then I had them just discuss what do you think was trying to be said by the advertiser in this? Like, can we infer what they were trying to say? And it was really funny how spot on some kids were, how much some of these missed their audience, even though I think my students were their targeted audience. So after going through that, that kind of set the stage for what inference was. Then we watched a Pixar short, which I can't play with music here, but here's a little clip of it, this one. And there's no talking in this whole short film, but it's only about 4 minutes long. And we talked about, after we watched it, what inferences could be made by, like, what was the weather? How did the donkey feel? What was the relationship between the fisherman and the donkey? What happened next after the end of the film? Were all things the kids had to infer. And then for some classes, we also watched the beginning scene from Breakfast Club, or The Breakfast Club. I don't want to diss a classic. The idea there was to watch these few characters as they were going into school, like what kind of cars did they drive up in? What did their relationships look like with their parents? How did they come into the library? Where did they sit? You know, all that stuff we infer all the time to just be able to look at that, because then when we read The Merchant of Venice today, we were pulling inferences out of all kinds of places. Like, so how do you think that person, what do you think they were really trying to say by their actions? What do you think they meant when they said this? Like, they weren't being very clear, so what can we infer was the true meaning behind what they said? And then we read, and then I ran out of time, literally in like every single class but one, and then that class had way too much time left. I had like 6 minutes left, and you know, 6 minutes is like 6 years in a classroom. Then I had a really interesting conversation. So during I had a prep period during my 7th period, and I now have a senior study, which is essentially seniors in a room. I don't know, I guess I have about 20 kids in that room, and I haven't taught any of them since they were in 9th grade, so 4 years ago, and they're all getting ready to graduate this year. So today's conversation was sort of them talking about what they wanted to do next. So some guys want to go to college, some guys want to go into the military, somebody wants to get their CDL, somebody wants to do Job Corps and like do like manual labor, like plumbing and carpentry and stuff like that. And so the conversation became, when I asked, but what do you want after high school? Like, what's the vision of like what this whole thing looks like? And that led to a really interesting conversation about like having a vision for like, what kind of house do you want? What kind of car do you want? Do you want to be able to like retire your parents and let your mom like not have to work anymore after raising 8 kids on her own? Like, how much money do you want to have? What kind of vacations do you want to have? What kind of kids, or how many kids do you want to have? Do you want them to go to public school? Do you want them to go to private school? Like, what do you want out of your life? And then reverse engineering how you get there. The reason that was so fascinating was because most kids had a completely unrealistic sense of like how they were going to get to where they were going to get, right? So they wanted $1 million a year, but it was like, you don't need $1 million a year. Or I want to be a nurse, but I'm not going to college. And it's like, I don't know that all those things you're saying add up, so we should probably research them. Or I want to get my CDL because I can start working right away and I can start making money, which is a common theme amongst my students. But then are you stuck in that job for the next 30, 40 years if you even ever get to retire? And so maybe figuring that out on the front end. So it was a really fascinating conversation, and I kind of paired it back to like a couple years ago, we got to go see, a year and a half ago, my students and I got to go up and see Gary Vaynerchuk. And Gary Vaynerchuk is on YouTube. If you don't know who he is, you can check him out. And they made this video about us going up. And one of the things Gary was talking to students about was his friend that sold drugs back when he was in college, and how this student that he knew had this real entrepreneurial spirit. And so he said, I'm just going to play the clip of it here, but they're probably going to demonetize me. I'm going to do it anyway. So check this clip out.
Hell yeah. That's what we're here for.
All right, so you know how you boast about having all this technology and everything. So you saying now won't have to do things that people's parents might have to do, like deal drugs or like go out there in the street and do whatever, because we got so much of this. We can make more money doing flipping simple stuff and just going out and earning it. So like. So you could just take any steps. Like, it's going to take like maybe 100 times, but you'll probably get it sooner or later.
My belief is that if you're a great drug dealer, you'd be a great businessman.
I just believe that because it's the same game. You're selling, you're working it. Like, listen, that's the only friends I had were drug dealers. like, if you're good at that, I'm saying, you know, there's a lot of drug dealers that suck at it. Right? like, right?
I want to talk about
Right?
the game. You're not so good.
Right? Like, listen, I made, like, all the kids that I really hung on to in friendships, I'm like, look at my man Moose. He's breaking down these bags into nickels because he's making more money that way, and he's chinsing. He's actually making $3 bags, but he realizes that everybody at the school doesn't know the fucking difference, doesn't care. He's smart. If you're good at it, or if somebody's good at it, they'd be even better at flipping sneakers or gear or going to the thrift store and flipping because it's the same fucking move. And then when you have the freedom of being not scared to get caught, now you're fucking moving fast. Because when you're selling drugs, you gotta think about that extra dimension of getting caught. But when you're selling fucking t-shirts, now you're a fucking entrepreneur and everybody thinks, you know, like people putting you on a pedestal. So yes, I believe that.
I love him.
I believe it.
And so real rap, that clip like changed kids' lives, right? And I'm not saying everyone in that room was a drug dealer, but I am saying that so we had this really great conversation of like how to make money and how much money you need to make, and are you working towards something that you feel passionate about? Are you just trying to chase the dollar, and how long are you willing to do that for? And man, it was a great conversation that, look, I think not enough teachers have those sorts of conversations with students. I know at our school we do, there's a lot of teachers that are willing to tread those waters with students, but you have to get your stuff. Go ahead. Moore's interrupting. Here he goes. There he is. Taking his time. Moore, if you go any slower, you might go in reverse. Grabbing all his gear. There's another kid over here staring at me with ice cream in his hand. Anyway, those conversations are really fun, and it really made for like a great talk, and it made me look forward to having that class in here again for the rest of the trimester. I think that's it. Tomorrow, we're gonna buy Play-Doh and make characters out of Play-Doh, so be sure to tune in for that, because there's nothing like kids with a very tough exterior that try to front all the time about how street they are playing with Play-Doh. It's magical. All right, Cephas, ready for Big Guy Little Car? Let's go. All right, everyone, till tomorrow, peace.